Vikings, we just said it, go to Foxborough this weekend, and we're going to do a little bit of a tale of the tape. Should we get some music going for this?
All right, yeah, you got something lined up.
Let's start with the defense, which the Vikings pretty much have the upper hand everywhere.
Yeah, up and down. We have a much more talented defense by players' perspective, hands down.
I'd be surprised if 25% of our listening audience knows 4 of the names on this defense.
That's probably pretty close.
Defensive ends, Trey Flowers and Dietrich Wise Jr. Their defensive tackles, some guy named Lawrence Guy, Malcolm Brown. So that's their defensive line compared to Daniil Hunter, Sheldon Richardson, Linval Joseph, and Griffin.
Yep.
So I think we'll take the upper hand there. Linebackers, Dante Hightower, Landon Roberts, and Kyle Van Noy.
Hightower's a stud. Know a damn thing about Roberts. Kyle Van Noy, they kind of picked up off the scrap heap. But he's a talented guy, but just hasn't really produced. But that's what New England's known for. Is they pick these guys up, they end up playing really well. And then you got Gilmore,
their cornerbacks. I know they're cornerbacks. Yeah. McCourty and Gilmore, Jason McCourty, Stephon Gilmore. They're okay. And then
Patrick Chung, Devin
McCourty. So I mean, their secondary is decent, but again,
Devin McCourty's a hell of a player, and Gilmore's a good player.
Yeah, but Harrison Smith, I would take over.
Yeah, Xavier Rhodes.
Yeah, I mean,
clearly.
So our defense is better than their defense.
The way they do something where I don't know how they do it, but the Belichick effect is something else. But they'll give up a crap load of yards per game, but they just don't let anybody score ever.
Yeah, we looked it up. They're right in the middle scoring defense. They're 12th ranked in the NFL, but their yardage they give up every game is like 22nd.
Yeah, they've been doing that for years,
that goes
too.
To what you were saying.
That's why I've always liked having them in fantasy, because they'll get a few turnovers and stuff, but they just don't give many points up, so it's like they're always just kind of safe.
Yeah, and as worried as we were about the Vikings defense in the beginning of the season, they were in the top 5 in yardage, and they were number 10 in points given up. So, yeah, coming back to the Vikings defense that we're all accustomed to. So, I mean, offensive line has looked better, but I'm not going to give...
I give them the edge in offensive line. I mean, that's half the reason that you've seen Sony Michel when he hasn't been injured, and James White producing so much, and now they're getting Rex Burkhead back too. So I mean, they've got another weapon over there.
Yeah, correct. And they have Tom Brady. Kirk Cousins, no matter how good he wants to be, unless you have Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees, you don't even have a conversation. So they win the quarterback battle, no matter how old Tom Brady is. They're going to win that one. Let's move on to the offense. Let's start with running backs. Definitely, I would give us the head start there, too. They have Sony Michel and James White, and we have Murray and Dalvin Cook.
I don't know if I'd necessarily give us the upper edge. Their running game's a hell of a lot more effective than ours, and that could come down to the offensive line and stuff. But you got to think, Michel's a first-round draft pick, and James White is playing out of his mind and always has, and has for years. I mean, he's been effective. I mean, you look at James White's numbers, even look at fantasy, like, he's a top 7 guy right now.
Yeah, James White has been good, but isn't a lot of that based off the pass?
It's based off the pass, but I mean, you still gotta. I mean, we're talking running backs, right?
Well, yeah.
I mean, passing yards count as a running back. So I hate to say it, but until I see more to Dalvin Cook, and Latavius Murray hasn't done that much, I give the edge to New England.
I'm looking up. Wow, we're 30th in the league in running.
That's what I'm saying. That's why when you're like, you gave us the edge, I'm like,
yeah,
you're
New
kind of being
England's
a homer.
12th. Yeah, I guess I am being a homer.
You're being a homer.
All right, we'll give that one to New England, even though I don't want to. I feel
know.
like
you don't want to give them anything.
Talent-wise, we're definitely better than
No, talent-wise, Dalvin should be a better running back than both those guys, but production, we don't come close.
All right, so we'll give them running backs. So then it comes back to, now this is probably the tightest race of all of them, would be wide receiver. This gets interesting. I mean, I guess it depends on where you want to rank. I mean, athletically, I mean, they have one unathletic wide receiver, and so do we. They have
True.
Edelman, and we have Thielen.
You sound so racist right now.
so
they're both really good route runners. And they work hard.
Great route runners. And we both have one athletic good wide receiver. They have Josh Gordon, and we have Stephon Diggs.
So the way I look at it there, if you look at Thielen and you look at Diggs, I give us the edge. Again, you got to go production.
Yep.
Right? You got to go production. So Josh Gordon, I mean, you know what he can do, but he really hasn't done it this year. I mean, he's looked better and he's had some good games, but he's 70, 80 yards a game, getting 4, 5, 6, 7 catches a game. Peppered with targets. Edelman's looked really good.
Yeah.
Edelman has looked very good, and again, he's always been that safety blanket and does what he does. But I mean, neither of them equal the production of Thielen and Diggs.
No,
But where they come close, if you look at the passing game in its entirety, they also have Chris Hogan. They've got Gronk. They've got other people. They got James White that they use in the passing
Gronk,
game. And all that.
Gronk really makes it. I didn't even think. Think
so
about
I mean,
him. That's a big difference.
You have
if
to.
You want to go
him.
all the receiving game instead of tight ends.
He's not a tight end. We all know he's a receiver in a tight end's body. Is what he is. I mean,
Gronk makes.
He's
makes
1,000-yard.
I was about to just give it to Minnesota, but you throw Gronk into the conversation, and now it's like a 3 against 2 type.
And he
thing.
hasn't done much this year, and he's been hurt, and he's looks like he's slowing down. But you go and look what he did last week, and he had a big game again, and he's finally getting healthy. So you throw that in the mix. They have more weapons that they utilize better. But if you just look at our 2 versus 2, we have them.
Yeah. So I mean. So I guess decision.
And again,
time.
the problem comes down to they've got Tom Brady. So Tom Brady makes an average guy really, really good.
So what do you? Who are you giving the victory to?
The victory?
No, not the victory of the game. I'm saying the receiving core, because I mean that could pretty much decide it. Let's look at it. We have defense, right?
Yep.
And that's, you could say that counts for 2 almost, because we're only using defense as one big lump sum. They have the offensive line, and they have the running backs, and they have, I mean, if you're going to give them the receiving game too, then they have everything except for defense.
I still give us the receiving game just because Diggs and Thielen have been so good.
And we have been more productive. We're 7th in yards per game, and they're 11th. I mean, both are
overall yards per game, or are you talking just passing?
This is passing yards per game.
Oh, passing. Yeah.
Passing yards per game. We are 7th in the NFL, and they are 11th as of right now.
So, yeah, you give us the edge slightly, but the other part that kind of skews that number a little bit is that our running game has been so ineffective and theirs has been effective.
Yes, and
so we're forced to pass more.
And they didn't have Edelman or Gordon for a big part of the year.
Edelman missed 2 games for doing steroids, which
4 games.
Good for him. Was it 4?
Yeah,
it was
4.
4. It was
I had
4.
him. I drafted him.
No wonder he's playing so damn well now.
Yeah. So he was.
That's one of my big targets. Every time I go into the fantasy football draft, I find whoever's doing steroids in the offseason that's suspended. Go get that guy now.
Totally worth the 4-2-1 game.
Yeah, it's a long season. Go get that guy. That's the guy that's dedicated to his craft, and he will be better.
You have to, just because.
Because you got the best wide receiver in the league right now.
Right, and Gronk's hurt all the time. That plays into it. And the stats are in favor of Minnesota, so I'm going to give us the wide receiver or the receiving edge. So receiving goes to the Vikings. Defense goes to the Vikings. Rushing, passing, offensive line all goes to the Patriots. What do you...
And the Patriots are at home.
And the Patriots are at home. What's the prediction, Brandon?
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot here.
I'm putting you on the spot. And I know you haven't even really thought about this yet. So now, since we've talked about it...
I'm still trying to relish in the past. I'm still enjoying, I'm still working off the no sleep and the hangover from Sunday night's game. But, yeah, my prediction for the game, 27-24 Vikings victory.
Wow. Yep. So you're giving the Patriots the advantage in offensive line, rushing, so you got to give it to them in special teams just because you can't trust anything our kickers do. So you're giving them all of those advantages outside of receiving game and defense, but still saying the Vikings pull out the upset.
I think we're hungrier right now, or we have to be at this point in time. Yeah. Our defensive line has looked good, and our defense has looked good, and Tom Brady hasn't quite looked himself, and he can't move, so I'm hoping that we can get some pressure. I'm going to go 27-24 us. I mean, if you made me put my entire pocketbook down and we were in Vegas, would I be as confident? Probably not.
Right.
But for the sake of this and everything else, I feel better about where we're at right now. I think we can pull this off. We need to. We're a team with our back against the wall right now, and this is going to be the game that kind of dictates or shows where we're at. We lose this game. If we get crushed in this game, you kind of know that the season's over. But I think after last week, I think we're going to be riding high. Our defense looks good. I think our running game is going to start coming around a little bit. You saw some of the creativity that Flip can, produce at last week. So I'm feeling a little bit better about things that I have in the past. What's your prediction?
I'm going to go bold.
You're going to go bold?
Bold.
Oh, God. Here we go. I feel a huge homerism coming on.
This game isn't even going to be competitive.
Really?
Nope. It's going to be one of those games where out of nowhere, for no particular reason whatsoever, the Vikings come out of nowhere and just do everything we've been hoping for. Defense shuts them down. Patriots are going to come in. Patriots don't really just lay an egg, but they're just not going to be ready for what the Vikings are going to hit them with. It's going to be a 31-10 victory for the Vikings.
That's bold. Did you not hear my take the entire time that we haven't been able to pull a game out or pull away in a game yet?
It's all changing.
Wow.
It's all changing. Yep, that's right. Vikings by 21 this weekend. 31-10. Vikings win. We'll see you next time. That's a walk-off shot.